everybody! Today we're going to be doing a recreation of Edvard Munch's The Scream, or as some people like to call it, The Scream of Nature, which is a self-portrait of Edvard Munch. If you have not watched the video about Edvard Munch's painting, please do that before you start the demonstration. And let's get started. So today we are going to be using oil pastels. All the supplies that you need are going to be what is in front of me right now. Oil pastels are a fantastic invention that are very helpful. Back before oil pastels were made, everyone would have to use oil paints. Oil paints took a lot of work. They took really long time to dry. You needed a lot of supplies such as paintbrushes, linseed oil, turpentine, paints, a palette. It was just a lot of work to carry all that stuff around. But now with oil pastels, you have all the supplies that you need right in this little stick right here. This little stick contains your brush, your linseed oil, your turpentine, it is your paint, it is your palette. All you need is that little box and a piece of paper, and you can create an oil painting style. The great thing about oil paints is that they are easy to blend, and oil pastels are easy to blend as well. So we're going to be using that, and how you're going to be blending them is you're going to be using the oil pastels themselves and your finger. So let's get started. You're going to take your paper here, and you do not need to use the outlines on the paper exactly if you don't want to. This is just a reference so that you have the basic structure done. Isn't that nice of Miss Courtwright to have that done for you already? You're also going to be getting a picture of yourself. I have already taken a picture of you, or if I have not, let me know and I will take a picture of you and we'll get it printed out for you. This is going to be a self-portrait, just like Edvard Munch's. And we're going to cut out our picture like you see that I did on my project right here. And we're going to glue it on. We're not going to be doing oil pastel self-portraits of yourself. That would be way too hard. If at any point during the video you need to pause the video, please do so that you don't get too far behind. I am going to start with my warm colors in the sky. Remember, warm colors are, and I'm starting with orange. You want to make sure that you start with the darker colors first, and it's okay if it's messy. We don't care right now because we're going to be using layers to build up our colors so that they are nice and blended together. And then I'm going to go in with red. So remember, I'm using my warm colors. Warm colors are red, orange, and yellow. I'm going to save yellow until the last thing, and I want to leave some room for the yellow so that I have it to show through. But yellow will make a great blending color. You can see how it's slightly patchy. And now I'm going to be blending out those orange and red together and the yellow to make it so that I can have a nice blended sunset. I'm also not going below the horizon line. Remember, the horizon line is where the sky meets the ground. You don't want to go below that because this is the sky. We're doing the sunset first. So in Edvard Munch's The Scream, he saw that the nature was screaming at him, and he thought the sunset looked like blood dripping down, and there was water that had the blood dripping down into it. So after you have finished your sunset and you have it how you like it to start with, then you're going to go into the water and add some of those warm colors too, to add the blood or what the nature was screaming about. So we're going to do some reds, oranges, and yellows into the water too. If you notice that your oil pastels are getting kind of messy, like my yellow one is, you can take a scrap piece of paper and you can color onto it to get that oil pastel more clean. And now you can see that my yellow is coming through a little bit more. So I'm going to be adding my red, my yellow, and my orange just to a little bit into the water. But I'm going to blend it out with my finger. After I've done that, I'm going to add some browns to it. Now I don't want to do too much brown, just where it's close to the horizon line. And you want to do your warm colors almost all the way done before you start on your... And then if you look at Edvard Munch's painting on the cabinet, you can see that there's some hills or mountains separating the sky from the ground. So I'm adding my black into it, and I'm going to blend it out with my finger to make it look like it's actually a part of the painting. And if you get paint on the table like I did, that's okay, because we'll wipe it off later. It's no big deal. After you finish that, if you want to pause the video, right now would be a great time so that you can get caught up with me and I don't go too fast for you. Okay, so now you should be ready to go. I'm going to get out my cool colors next for the water. Remember, cool colors are green, blue, and violet. Now your pack does not have violet in it, so you're going to be mixing it by making blue and red to combine to make violet. So the first thing you want to do is start off with some blue. You can get some dark blue down. Remember, we start with darker colors first. And then you can add some greens and make some violet up. So I have my blue down, I'm going to add my red to make the violet. If you want to make it a little lighter, you can add some white into it. And white is a great blending color for the cool colors. So I'm going to be using that to blend with. You can also use the light blue. Either one will work just fine. So I'm going to go ahead and use my light blue and my white and my fingers to blend out my colors. My greens and my blues and my violets, just to make my water look good. And I want it to be streaky. And again, notice how I'm not following the lines exactly on my paper. I'm just using them as reference to blend out and make my water. Now you can see that I am covering up where the people are, and that is okay. And you can go back and forth like I'm doing now between your oranges and your blues, but we want to cover up the entire paper. We can go back over that and add our people back in later, but we want to make sure that we cover up the entire paper. And remember, there is some warm colors in the water because it's nature screaming, but I want to do mostly cool colors. So I'm doing mostly the blues and the greens and the violets and the bottom, but if you want to add some of the red or the orange, you can do that so that it looks like it's going back into the water. Remember to also use your finger to blend, just like that, like I'm doing now. So now I have pretty much how I want it. I'm going to add a little bit of some blue back in, and I want to darken it up a little bit, so I'll add some black into the water just to make it a little bit darker. If you look at Edvard Munch's, it looks kind of dark down there. And I'm not going to blend on or add a lot of black. I'm just going to use my finger just to add the black in to make those lines look like they're showing up. The last thing I'm going to do before I am finished with my water is I'm going to add those two little boats in the background. And also, my sky should be dry enough, the oil should have soaked up enough that I can go back in and add some yellow and some white into it so I can lighten up the sky. So I'm pretty much done with my water. Right now would be another great time for you to pause so that you can finish up anything that you need to do in the water. The next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to start working on my boardwalk. So with the boardwalk and the railing on the boardwalk, there's some water that shows through. So I'm going to start by adding my blue in just so that it's down there so that when I overlap it, I will have it ready to go. So I'm going to start on the wood part with brown. Just do some brown, really messy. It doesn't have to be good right now. We're going to go back over it. Remember, we're doing layers. I'm just going to do the railing. So to start with, I'm going to save the floor for a second. After I do my brown, I'll go back in with my peach color and start blending it out. Remember, you start with light or dark colors first, and then you blend out with the light colors. And I'm covering up the entire paper, even where the people are going to be at, because we are going to go back over them and add them back in, just like I did with those boats a few minutes ago. So I'm blending everything out with the peach color. And then I'm going to keep layering and adding the brown and peach until I get it so it's kind of streaky and looks like Edvard Munch's. If I find that it's not dark enough, I'm going to add some black to it. And we're making wood grain. This is a wooden railing. And when you're doing wood grain, you're going to make sure that you're only blending in one direction. You can see that my finger is going one direction. It's going with the wood grain so that it makes it look like it's actually wood, not just a painting that we're doing. So after I finish doing all my black on my paper, I might go back in and do some more layering with the brown just so it looks all put together. And then I'm pretty much done with the railing part. And then I'm going to start moving on to the floor part. Now the floor is a little bit different than the railing. It still has the wood grain texture, so you're all going to go in one direction again. But there's some other colors added into it, like the blues and the greens that you see there. And it also has an area that's darker, so I'm going to make sure that I have some dark in the corner. But first I start with my brown and my peach again, just to make it look like wood. I'm layering the brown and the peach, and then I can add my green and my blue in there, just sparingly. That means not a lot. And add some more black in there to keep the wood grain going too. And then I'm going to blend everything out with my brown and my peach color to make it look like a wood grain on the floor. And again, I'm covering everything. Those people will come back in a minute. If you need to take the wrappers off of your oil pastels, that is perfectly fine. That's what they're there for. So you can just keep using it. So I've had everything blended out, and I'm going to make sure that I add a black line that separates the railing from the floor and makes it look like it's not going to blend together. And I'm going to darken up that corner area just so that it looks a little bit more like Edvard Munch's painting. And I keep looking back at his painting just so that I can get a good reference. So I blended that out, and the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add my people back in. So there's just like two silhouettes of people in the corner there. They're away from Edvard Munch. Remember, it's his friends, but they're not with him because he heard the screaming and nobody else did. If you get little specks in places that aren't supposed to be, you can just scratch them off. It's no big deal. Now I want you to pause the video and finish up the oil pastel part. After that, you're pretty much done with the background, and we have to add our person in, or your self-portrait part of the picture. So you're going to take your picture and you're going to cut it out, voila, just like I did, and you're going to glue it down onto your painting, and then you're finished. Congratulations, you have finished the Edvard Munch Expressionism of your version of the Scream. The last thing that you guys have to do is to upload your project to Artsonia. Remember, when you are uploading to Artsonia, that you crop in on everything, and you have to add an artist statement. Your artist statement is going to be what you learned about Expressionism or what you did while you were doing the project. Alright, I'll let you guys finish up your project. I hope you enjoyed making your own version of Edvard Munch's The Scream. Thanks for watching.